that song.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1193. 1993 was the year I started working at K-Hey, and I started the show called the Santa Fe Cafe. Hey, where a lot of these characters came from. I actually adopted it from someone else who was doing the show, had been doing it for a year, and then I took it my own direction. And it lasted 11 years.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
But that's the name of this show, Mike's Daily Podcast, where we broadcast live from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Mont. And today we will hear from Chely Shoehart and Floyd the Floorman, and also John Deere the engineer. Hey man, I think it's very clear that your best friend Mike Matthews will never have hair plugs shoved in his ear or take the hair
Mike's Daily Podcast
from his ears and put on his head. That would not work. I'm going to be bald, and that's all right. I'm fine
Mike's
with being
Daily
aerodynamically
Podcast
designed.
Yeah!
But some people, like that ESPN guy, one of the anchors on ESPN, he's probably about my age, he got addicted to putting hair plugs in his freaking head. What a moron. God. Why would you... So I knew someone that got hair plugs in radio. He was going bald and he goes, I'm going to get hair plugs. And he showed it to me. It looked like the most painful, like someone had taken a staple gun and stapled hair to his head. It looked so ridiculous. And he goes, yeah, this is going to grow and turn into a full head of hair. Yeah, right. So, like, people like Elton John have what's called like a hair weave, where it's basically a toupee that's attached to his head, and it costs a lot of money. And it works for people that are vain. And this guy from ESPN said that he was vain. He was addicted to hair plugs. He kept it secret, but every time he had any free time, he would go and have more plugs shoved into his head. Crazy. And okay, maybe the female equivalent would be breast implants, which Mr. Trump so nicely talked about on that famous video now that everyone has seen probably by now. Look who just walked in.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, the gift shop supervisor. Oh my God, Trump is like an old white man, and he says things that are disgusting.
Yeah, he does say things that are disgusting, and it's true what he said. He thought he was saying in secret, but the guy had been in media for a long time up until that point. He must have known that mic that was attached to his lapel was hot. Or was there a guy walking around with a mic boom? Anywho, I have to watch it again. But at any rate, he should have known that once he was on that bus, he was being recorded. So saying stuff like that was going to come out eventually, even though it was back in, 2000 or 2002. That is the man right there. And a lot of people that have followed Trump this far have no problem with it. They think he fully apologized at the debates. Look who else just walked in. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, that was not an apology. That was kudos to Anderson Cooper, who said in the very first 5 minutes of the debate, what you said, Donald Trump, was basically assault. If you actually did that, that was assault on a woman. Do you understand that, is what he said. And Trump, accusations. Trump immediately said, no, you don't understand. Like, completely. He's always on the defensive, always has somebody explained it perfectly. He uses elliptical reasoning, where he says something like, oh yeah, I said something, but I said something about something, and who cares? He sort of brings it back around and says basically what I say isn't important, but yeah, it's important. And then he totally crossed the line with what he did, where he actually brought people. So he brought the people that are involved in anything controversial that Bill Clinton has been involved with into the town hall studio. He was going to have them sit in his family box. But the guy who ran the debate used to be a Republican head mucky muck. So he's a Republican, right? He shouldn't have anything against Donald Trump. If anything, he should say, Donald, yes, please bring those horrible people that were victimized by Bill Clinton into this room so that we can show that Democrat Hillary that she's an idiot and blindly following this awful, awful man, Bill Clinton. Instead, he said to Trump, if you put those women in that box, in that family box, I will have the lovely ladies escorted from this building. Exactly what he said. So thank you to that man. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but why Trump? Why would you dare go into this world, this reality TV world? You've shoved reality TV into our politics as a whole you've shoved a refrigerator into our little cozy little photo booth. I don't know where I'm going with this imagery, but this is all part of my segment. Well, I'll tell you the name of the segment. This is a segment I haven't done in a long time, but this is what.
And here's today's podcast picture
that I do on every show. And speaking of my baldness, I celebrate my baldness in today's podcast picture, which was taken a couple years ago by my friend Robert Owen Welsh, who sometimes does the segment called
Welsh on the World,
which he hasn't done in a long time. But it would be interesting to get his. Maybe I'm going to see him this Sunday or Saturday. He's moving into his first house. Maybe I can record a Welsh on the World with him then. But we were in Bodega Bay at a restaurant with his family, and they took a picture of me, and it's so funny. He took this picture of me with his flowers. So it's at I think it was a breakfast restaurant in Bodega Bay. And you can see that at mikesdailypodcast.com. I think it's been over a year now, a little over a year since I last went to Bodega Bay. It's nice to go to. It's a bit of a drive from where I live. It's probably about 2.5 hours. You kind of want to spend like a couple days doing it. But there's all kinds of fun things to see and nice people along the way. So hair plugs. Hair plugs and Donald Trump. Now, whatever's on his head is not natural. Whatever. Mr. Fallon messed with that. Oh yeah, this is the segment we call
Mike rips someone a new one.
So I was trying to go with this sort of connection here to breast implants, hair plugs, breast implants, Donald Trump talking about Nancy O'Dell and her breasts, and just the whole world of Donald Trump is a seedy, ugly place. But Mike, what about Assange releasing all those emails that Hillary had in her party, and they're so completely... You're comparing apples to oranges. There's just no... You want Donald Trump to... It's all right. If he becomes president, as bad as Bill Clinton was, you... multiply that by the biggest number you can think of, and that's what you're going to have. And that's pretty much the political part of this. Although we do have another segment we're going to get to called Matthew's News in just a moment, with some interesting news about something else, that another one of the lies that was said at the debate. But Billy Bush was suspended, and that makes me so happy. First off, from what you hear him say on that bus is deplorable, a basket of deplorable. And then he's just been on the Today Show or whatever that show is after the Today Show. I've never liked Billy Bush. He represents everything about television I hate. I hate that kind of anchor looking at, what I do, I guess could be in television terms kind of like what he does, where you just sort of comment on things. But he has always been that. Coming up next, we'll find out, I don't know, that hype, that entertainment hype thing that I am just not into. But he's being suspended, of course, for what he said there about, he was egging on Trump and in that video. And NBC doesn't want any part of it. So what they do is they suspend people like they did with Brian Williams over his lies about the helicopter that he said he was on, which he wasn't. All right, now I wanted to quickly move on to something that happened in Podcastro Valley. And that was, I ran into a nice young couple while I was walking Basil the Boxer. And they have these two wonderful dogs, Bella and Dixie. And we were at Fairmont Ridge, and the three of them were playing. And oddly enough, I ran into them 3 more times around Podcastro Valley. The nicest people. They don't know about this podcast yet, but they have just been immortalized in this podcast. Thank you so much. The couple that owns Bella and Dixie. And what often happens with dog owners, they get to know the dog names and they never get to know the owner names. By the way, this past weekend, my battery died, but then it came back to life again. It was very strange. Kind of like what they're trying to do with Trump's campaign. And finally, it took me forever to get the wood chipper back going. The wood chipper sound effect yesterday. And in fact, I even named the podcast Chipper after that. To those of you who listen to this show on Google Play, which I think is whole 0 of you, Google Play for some reason didn't post yesterday's podcast. It's in a state of processing that will never end, apparently. So you'll probably get this show before you get the last show if you listen to this on Google Play. And I'm looking right at you, Haley. Oh. So Hugh Hewitt even came out. He's a very conservative talk show host. He even came out against Trump and what he said. And he had all these callers yesterday morning saying, and they were women saying, we're going to support Trump no matter what. Oh, wait, they had more of like a Wisconsin act. We love Donald Trump. He's awesome. We had no problems with what he said on the bus. It's no worse than what Hillary Clinton said. Hillary Clinton is awful and evil, and we can't have her in the president's house. Is what they said. All right. It's an interesting world, isn't it? Okay, Matthew's News.
Matthew's News.
By the way, check out all the past podcast pictures and past interviews I've done at mikesdailypodcast.com. You can contact me there. You can email me, or you can comment on any of the places that this social media, this show, posts onto. Get links to all those places at mikesdailypodcast.com. We read your comments on the section.
Oh my God!
Email for mail and your calm and not so calm mess.
And by the way, why isn't anyone, I just got a report from Amazon that nobody is clicking on my Amazon link. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, click on that link and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that helps us out, supports the show. I don't understand why. Why do you think it is, Chely Shoehart?
Mike Matthews, nobody's buying anything on Amazon anymore. There's cheaper places.
There's cheaper places in Amazon? Well, that could be. But also, if you'd like to donate through the PayPal, you'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. Floyd the Floorman will be happy to do that. Oh, Mike, I just saw your podcast picture. That's hilarious, because I'm Floyd the Floorman. Uh-huh. That really wasn't an apology, was it, John Deere the engineer? Mike, I know what an apology sounds like. And the structure and shape of that apology was engineered horribly. It fell to pieces as soon as it was said. Anderson Cooper's cute. He is kind of cute. The son of Gore Vidal. There's a, what do you call it? A documentary on Netflix about Gore Vidal that I have to watch. And there is a documentary about steampunkers. Steampunk. On the Netflix, which I have not watched. Oh, wait, I have watched. I watched about... So I watched... Not even like a quarter of it yet. And it's pretty annoying. I love steampunk, but the people involved in steampunk are so... I don't know. I have to get into a discussion with this, with addendum with Kevin, because it seems like it's sort of like the hipster thing gone horribly wrong. And you're watching it, and these people are so odd. They're I mean, you know, they're sweet and lovable, but at the same time annoying, I guess, kind of like me. And there was one person though, I'll talk about her on an upcoming podcast. She wrote a book called Soulless. I can't think of her name at the moment. She's intoxicating. Whenever they show her on the screen, it's like, woo, steampunk's beautiful. But then you see all these other steampunkers and you're like, what is going on? I bet they stink. I bet the bathing is just down to the Toms of Maine type stuff. But you know what? That's fine. That one gal that I can't think of her name at the moment, she reminds me of, it was weird. Maybe I was attracted to her because she reminded me of two of my ex-girlfriends that somehow merged together. And there was this author of Solace, I can't think of her name at the moment, as I've mentioned, Gail something. And I was like, oh my gosh, she looks just like Andrea and just like Julie together. How odd is that? Sometimes when you see people, that happen. All right. What was the story about? Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett said yesterday he denied an allegation by Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump that he, like Trump, had taken a massive deduction that allowed him to avoid federal income taxes. This according to MSN.com. Buffett said he paid about $1.85 million in income tax in 2015. And that returns for previous years were similar in respect to contributions, deductions, and tax rates. Buffett said he was being audited by the Internal Revenue Service but had no problem releasing his tax information. Trump has refused to release his tax returns, citing ongoing audits by the IRS. Now that's no problem to us because we still think he's awesome. Wait, Wisconsin. Oh, that's no problem. You know, if he doesn't wanna, why do I go all Irish when I'm trying to do Wisconsin? Oh, don't you know? We have no problems with the way that he's keeping the tax returns from us.
You darn tootin'.
Buffett, ranked the world's third richest person by Forbes magazine, said he has copies of all 72 of his returns, and none uses a carry forward. Responding to an October 1st New York Times story, Trump acknowledged during the presidential candidates debate on Sunday that he had used investment losses to avoid paying taxes. Trump repeatedly said that he was only taking advantage of tax provisions used by wealthy people who support Clinton. I absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett, he said. Well, he lied. He was wrong. Oh, Mike, he was just misinformed.
You darn tootin'.
No, he lied. The Times reported that Trump's declared loss of $916 million in 1995 was so large that he could legally have avoided paying any federal income taxes for up to 18 years. Buffett, the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, said in his 2015 tax return it showed adjusted gross income of, what the hell is that number? It's big. He said, which... Oh, look at all these numbers, and I've just gotten myself confused. At any rate, there is something here else I wanted to mention, and that was there was some fact checking going on, and they found out the following. You know, Trump brought up a woman named Kathy Shelton. Kathy Shelton apparently was, let's see, it says here, when she was a young public defender, Hillary Clinton, Trump said, was assigned to represent an accused child rapist. She has been seen on two separate occasions laughing at the girl who was raped, Kathy Shelton. That young woman is here with us tonight. Another one of his, trying to bring in reality TV into the political world, like a refrigerator into a photo booth. At no point was Clinton seen laughing at this victim. No, in fact, the fact is, she was laughing at the procedural details of the case. Things that were, well, okay, in 1975, at the age of 12, Shelton was sexually assaulted in Northwest Arkansas. Clinton was asked by a judge overseeing the case to represent her alleged attacker. Okay, and this happens a lot when you're just getting started in law. You have to take cases just like radio. You know, if you want to move ahead in radio, you got to take the shifts that are the overnights, or take the work at the stations that you're not exactly the fan of their music or format or whatever. After the prosecution lost key evidence, Clinton's client allegedly then Clinton's client, the attacker, entered a plea to a lesser charge. In an interview a decade later, Clinton expressed horror at the crime, but was recorded on tape laughing about procedural details of the case, because things were kind of messed up in this case, and it was so long ago. It's sort of like talking about something that happened a long time ago, and you kind of go, geez, that was messed up. And she was laughing about that, not about the victim, not about Shelton. Now, I think that the fact that Kathy Shelton is still using this, it makes you question Kathy Shelton. Why does she have such a beef against Hillary? Does she like being in the limelight? What is Trump giving? What is Trump giving these women, by the way? These women, like, you know, the Paula Jones and everybody, or Jennifer Flowers, that what is the deal that they made with Trump? Or, you know, why are they doing this? Yes, they hate Hillary, but they're getting something else on it. You know, they're getting the notoriety. They're cashing in on that. Another thing Trump said, he has lost his license. He's talking about Bill Clinton here. Trump said he has lost his license. He had to pay an $850,000 fine, he said at the debates. And according to the independent.co.uk, perhaps you've also seen this article, Trump's facts are at best jumbled. In 1998, lawyers for Bill Clinton settled with former Arkansas state employee Paula Jones for $850,000 in her 4-year lawsuit alleging sexual harassment. It was not a fine, and there was no finding or admission of wrongdoing. Trump erred in describing the legal consequences of that case. In a related case before the Arkansas State Supreme Court, Clinton was fined $25,000 and his Arkansas law license was suspended for 5 years. Clinton also faced disbarment before the U.S. Supreme Court, but he opted to resign from the court's practice instead of facing penalties. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Just to clear that up, no, Bill Clinton is not an angel. And I had a conversation with someone yesterday about how they're not going to vote at all because there are no angels that are running for president. The two major parties neither one are an angel. And you know what? He said he's not going to vote. I'm like, vote for someone else then. But it's a little bit naive to think there are no angels in politics. I mean, to think that there is someone who's an angel in politics. I wish that was the case. But there's so many times the whole political thing just makes them all jaded. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. What a happy, optimistic point to end on. Let's end it there.